And again, as everyone has said, we cannot forget. While last weekend Trump assumed power in Washington, D.C., we inaugurated the resistance to Trump and the billionaire class with millions of people in the streets. This resistance is alive and well and growing, and it can bring down Trump. And as Shama and others have said, let's not forget that previous generations beat back slave owners and hate mongers and warmongers and billionaires, and they won. We have the potential power to defeat Trump. After last week's massive protests and Trump's record low approval rating, it's clear that his anti-worker, billionaire-backed agenda does not have a popular mandate. But the central questions facing our movement is what strategy can really beat Trump? How can we translate the massive opposition we saw last weekend into an ongoing, powerful movement to actually block his billionaire-backed agenda from City Hall to state capitol to federal government? All right. I think the answer is clear. We won't inspire the kind of mass movement we need by simply offering another version of the status quo, of inequality and corporate opposition and corruption. And the best way to defeat Trump is to unify our movements behind a positive vision for social change by challenging the corporate establishment of both parties. And by offering this bold vision of social change for a $15 minimum wage, for affordable housing for all, for free quality Medicare for all, for a society free from racism, sexism, and environmental destruction that we can all enjoy from the bottom up. And what we heard from Shama tonight, and what we've seen in Seattle, is that it is possible for our cities to become centers of resistance to the billionaire class and his agenda. We can do that same thing here in Minneapolis. But we need political representatives in City Hall who will fight unambiguously for working people and oppressed communities. We need political leaders who refuse corporate cash donations, who have proven themselves as uncompromising fighters, and who come out of our social movements. And let's be clear, as Ty just said, that is not possible if you have loyalty to a political party trying to serve two bosses that is trying to represent both big business and working people at the same time. It's not possible. And that is why tonight I am announcing my candidacy for Minneapolis City Council right here in Woodbridge. And I'm running as a proud member of Socialist Alternative. The starting point for my campaign is that our power does come from social movements. And I think in the context of Trump, we must remind ourselves that it was 6 years ago today that an event that shook the world happened. On January 25th, 2011, young people in Egypt began the occupation of Tahrir Square, sparking a revolution. Through massive occupations and strikes, workers and students in Egypt overthrew Hosni Mubarak, a powerful US-backed dictator who had ruled for decades. And the Egyptian revolution sparked the Occupy movement worldwide and a new era of mass resistance to the billionaire class, to systemic racism and sexism, and for a sustainable planet. And if the Egyptians could topple Mubarak in 2011, we can beat Trump today. Minneapolis has a vibrant immigrant and Muslim community, which will be disproportionately impacted by right-wing attacks. Tens of thousands of Minneapolis workers will be affected by anti-union laws and state-level preemption of a $15 minimum wage. The job description of our elected officials needs to be expanded. We need elected officials who are equally comfortable with the immediate tasks in City Hall as they are with the grassroots movements building in the streets that we need to stop these attacks on Minneapolis residents. And as others have said, I have spent 2 years fighting to win a $15 minimum wage in Minneapolis for a proposal that was supported by 68% of Minneapolis residents and has been confirmed viable by the city of Minneapolis' own economic impact study. One of the most effective tools big business had to block us was the Democratic Party bending to the pressure of big business in City Hall. So let's talk about priorities in Minneapolis. Minneapolis residents paid $825 million for the construction of U.S. Bank Stadium and refurbishing the Target Center, for a billionaire and a bank investing in the Dakota Access Pipeline. Just imagine if we used that money to fix the broken for-profit housing system that's pricing working-class residents and students out of Minneapolis. It would be enough to build over 4,000 units of affordable, high-quality, city-owned housing, providing thousands of union jobs and reducing rents. In addition to union jobs for affordable housing, we need stronger renter protections to target slumlords like Stephen Franz, as our friends in Iniquilos Unidos are doing right now. And we need to organize a movement with renters to end the statewide preemption of rent control. And Black Lives Matter is one of the most important social movements of the last decade. It has exposed the deep structural legacy of racism in this country, but what has the city done about it? Our communities have been rocked by police violence. Jamar Clark, Philando Castile. Let's be clear, at a minimum, we need an elected civilian review board with real teeth, with hiring and firing powers, with actual power over the police budget. And again, I would ask, what has the city done? Instead of dealing with structural reforms, our city establishment gave police more money. Many of the crises facing working people in Minneapolis are at a crossroads in Ward 3. To address the contradictions of development in the interest of our own communities and the crises of low wages, we can't rely on politicians that say they're against gentrification, but take money from the profit-driven big developers that are rapidly making this city unaffordable for low-income communities. And as Shama said she does in Seattle here, I would only take the average wage of a worker in this ward. Our resistance and our fight back is a call to action. Back in 2013, as Ty described, we ran a deep grassroots campaign that nearly elected Ty in Minneapolis and elected a working-class, unapologetic fighter in Shama in Seattle. And I can promise you this, we will run the boldest grassroots campaign this year, based on donations from regular working people, taking no corporate money, knocking on every door, building the resistance movement that stops Trump's agenda in its tracks. And this will all be built under our own power. Imagine what we can do with even just one unapologetic working class fighter on city council. Hopefully there will be more. It's not unique to Seattle. Victories against slumlords, the first major city to win 15, this is not unique to Seattle. We can do that here. And I would ask, get involved in my campaign for Ward 3. And if you are a socialist, consider joining Socialist Alternative. In either case, let's build a fundamentally different world, and let's do it together. Solidarity.